Wicked for good. More good or more wicked? That's the goofy title I'm going with for this video. Hey everyone, welcome to Steven Shinder Reviews in video form, and this is a non-spoiler review of Wicked for Good. Last year I did a review for Wicked Part 1, it's on the channel, go watch it if you'd like. But here we are, back at it again, and after the year-long intermission, there has been a lot of chatter about this installment. Early reviews had people saying it's not very good, maybe even bad. Rotten Tomatoes currently has a 70% critic score, 95 audience, and so I've even talked to people who said it's mid or okay or they loved it. So it's kind of been all over the place. Um, and some of that is maybe in comparison to the first film, some of it is maybe just as a film on its own. There was stuff I enjoyed about this one, but bear with me as I go into why this one maybe does not stack up as much. It's all subjective, of course, but let's take a walk through this yellow brick road. I can see how it might be a bit jarring going from the first film and then straight into this one. Previously, we did see that dark agendas were forming in the land of Oz, and here, right off the bat, we begin with a bit of a darker tone. You might not see the yellow brick road the same way again, and there are certain familiar characters you might not like much in the portrayals here. Part 1 got viewers so invested in the evolution of the friendship between Elphaba and Glinda. Here, there's more antagonism between them, which might not feel great to watch. There are moments where actions between different characters could have easily been avoided had they just stopped to talk a little more, and it can be frustrating. It was just so noticeable here. I was so honed in on it for some reason. Again, 2017 is when I saw the play, so I don't recall how much of that aspect might have been beat for beat, but is it possible that this sort of thing might just translate better on the stage than on screen? Maybe. And while I've mentioned a slightly darker tone, I feel that this film doesn't fully commit to it. There are at least a couple places where there's mood whiplash or perhaps tonal dissonance would be a more apt term, where something very serious and dramatic happens, but instead of sitting in the moment, what led to it and its ramifications, consequences when it comes to the characters, we get this silly, goofy, laugh out loud little fight. Some in my theater laughed along, but I felt like the odd one out. To be fair, it's comparable to the apple tree fight in the 1939 Wizard of Oz film. It got kind of the same campy energy, the moment that I'm thinking of, but I'm not sure it works within the context of this particular story. And this next bit of info is not a spoiler as it's in the marketing, but we do get stuff happening parallel to the basic story we're familiar with from the Wonderful Wizard of Oz or the familiar 1939 version. Though, of course, it's not the same universe as either of those. What little we get of Dorothy and her friends is very little screen time, and I know the play doesn't focus on that all that much. It's Elphaba's story, of course. For a stage production where there are time constraints, it feels justified to speed run through those beats. But here, it felt kind of awkward to me. Given that the story was adapted into two films, which altogether have a longer runtime than the play, it kind of feels like they should have just gone a bit further, showing a bit more of Dorothy's travels. Maybe 5 minutes worth, I would say. I think that would have been a good enough amount of time just to contextualize what this version of the story looks like from her perspective. We were told ahead of time that her face wouldn't be shown, and actually, I do recall perhaps two very brief glimpses of the side of her face. I know people are so precious about the 1939 film, but I don't think it would have done any harm for this Dorothy to have had a little more screen time. It's not like we're doing a CGI face or de aging or anything like that. And yeah, I do get the vibe that their limited screen time is to preserve a reveal of a certain character. But I do wonder how out of pocket these reveals might feel to people who are somewhat familiar with the Wizard of Oz story, but aren't as familiar with the Wicked. I do wonder how well received Act 2 of the story would have been received by moviegoers had this been just one film. Maybe 3 or 3.5 hours, with the understanding that since it's just one film, they kind of have to speed run through or even past familiar beats. I know people can just watch the stage play, which I think is 2.5 or 2 3/4, something like that, but I'd be interested in seeing some sort of trimmed down edit of these two movies into one somehow. When part one came out, I saw a lot of fun discussion of the different Oz books and adaptations and interpretations. Lots of great discussion. So when For Good comes out, and the most prominent discussion I see online is a debate over whether For Good is a sequel or if it's not a sequel because it's a story split in two, I'm left wondering what the hell is going on here? What are we doing here? My 2 cents is you absolutely can say For Good is a sequel. What it's based on was one installment, but to me, the year long gap and even just the end credits being present at the end of each of these is enough to perceive these as two films. It's not like ending one VHS tape of Titanic and then watching the next to continue the full film. I don't think there are end credits at the end of that first half, are there, for Titanic, the VHS? So that's where I land with that. But I also think it's a stupid discussion to get invested in. Is this going to be the new "is Die Hard a Christmas movie" type of discussion where people regurgitate that debate over and over when we really shouldn't care that much? It all just seems silly to me. While I am sort of going through what didn't work as well for me with Wicked for Good, it might surprise you to hear that I don't think it's bad. As a film, it has more good than wickedness or shortcomings, I guess I should say. But compared to the first film, it has less of that goodness. I enjoyed it overall. The visuals and the singing are still generally great. The social themes still resonate. The romance aspect may be clumsy at times, but still interesting. But I didn't feel as teary eyed as I thought I might, like I got toward the end of the stage version. Others certainly got emotional and full of tears, the good kind, but I didn't reach that point, and that kind of bums me out. The first film was very close to my top 5 2024 films and may have possibly squeaked in on a rewatch, but Wicked for Good might not even be in my top 20 for this year, maybe just outside of that. I thought the film was fine, but it didn't hit all the spots for me. I'm glad I saw this though. Some may have enjoyed it less, but for those who enjoyed it more, sure. I hope you're happy. And I do hope that the success of these movies leads to more big budget Oz stories on the big screen, even if not in this particular Wicked universe. There's plenty that people could do. As for my rating, the first film was a 9 for me when I rated it. This one, I was thinking of maybe giving it a 7, but looking at other movies this year that I've given a 7 already, I feel like I enjoyed this more than most, if not all of those. So I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. I'm sure I'll rewatch it sometime down the line, just not in the theater. I'll watch it from home because there's no place like home. Whether the score goes up or down slightly, I guess we'll see. But that's it for now. So thanks for tuning in to Steven Shinder Reviews in video form, and I'll see you all soon.